Hello, I'm going to be working outside in the backyard to talk to you about how I felt about the mchat follow-up. It's kind of loud in there with a lot of kids. I don't really know how to talk about what I learned or what I was doing with this. Doing this mchat was really easy. It could just as easily have been done over the phone like I was originally going to do with you. And in the person or in place, face to face with the parent and the child right there. It was super easy. Now again, I know that means I am in no way qualified to say whether this child actually has autism or not, or is on a path related to it. Although I feel relatively secure that in this case that is not happening. This was a perfectly healthy, happy, standard issue child, as far as you can use those kind of words for any child. But the first page, the follow-up scoring sheet where it's just yes or no, that one's really simple. If you point across the room, does your child look at it? You can ask the parent that. You'll get a pretty straightforward answer. You can be in the child or in the room with the child, and you can just, say to the child, hey, look at the refrigerator. And they'll look. So it becomes really clear. So in that case, all of these are really clear, really simple. The only part that I was a little confused about was there are 2 pages with the same questions, and one of them are yes, no, and one of them are pass, fail. And it seems to be that the same question is, have you ever wondered if your child might be deaf? And the answer is no. She had never considered that the child might be deaf. And so that makes sense that it would be no. But then whenever you come over to the pass, fail, if she says no, then that's a fail. And I'm not quite sure that I'm understanding how not thinking that your child has never been deaf, or thinking that your child has never been deaf, is actually going to be a potential symptom of autism. Now, thinking that your child is deaf, that would have been my understanding, is if you have thought that the child was deaf, then that would be a sign, a potential sign of autism. So that one confuses me a little bit. And that's really the only one that does confuse me, because the other one where she actually answered no to, well, again, I think there is another one. Does your child make unusual finger movements near his or her eyes? That's a no. And then that one over here does register as a fail, which makes sense because, they do sometimes little things like this, and that can be a sign of, stemming. And that makes sense to me that would be a fail. And then the other one that they said, does your child get upset by everyday noises? And we had a little bit of confusion whenever me and the parent were talking about whether or not she does and whether or not that counts. Because the child doesn't like vacuum cleaner noises. And that is the closest thing that they had to an everyday noise that the child got upset about. But she got upset about it in a relatively standard way. She'd come in and, say, I don't like that noise, don't vacuum, stop that, or she'd run to another room. She wasn't really acting out majorly over it. And the only other noise that they had that the child had issues with was fireworks. And I know full-grown adults who are inside the house right now who have problems with the sound of fireworks. So that's in keeping. And that one, with it being, we came up and said no, that she doesn't have a problem with everyday noises. And that was a fail. Does your child get upset by everyday noises? No. And over here on the pass-fail one, that says no. And I would have thought it was the other way around, that somebody who might be exhibiting some early signs of autism would be getting more upset by the everyday sounds that most of us manage to tune out, ignore, or at least deal with, even if we don't really, not so super fond of them, don't really like them that much. Other than that, going through this mchat paperwork, even with the more in-depth ones, one, I really like the flow chart. That gave me some clues as to what I was looking for, just in case I didn't know. It gave me some things to check for if the parent didn't give me examples, if I weren't sitting there looking at a child and knowing what the examples were. This gives me examples. Does she play pretend or make believe? Does she pretend to drink from a toy cup? Will she pretend to eat from a toy spoon or fork? You know, these are things that it's going to really help in case somebody who is trying to give it didn't quite understand or was confused, or if somebody wanted to come along later and question the results, they could have said, well, I went through and I asked all of these questions and these are the results I got. Or while I was sitting in a room with a child, these are the things that I observed. These are the things that I saw. That could be really helpful. And I don't know, I would not have a problem using this again. So I can't say exactly what I learned other than using an mchat, which I've never done before, and I've never actually given any kind of diagnostic test to a student before like this. So it was a good experience to go through and check and just be able to sit down with a parent and a child and start talking about some of these. So that was a good experience. So that's what I have to say for this. Thanks. Bye.